Just so everybody knows, whoever's logging on, I am muting y'all to stop feedback until I get the rest of the council on board. So just give me a second.
Taxes and fees included.
The spectrum offer is kind of better than what we're offering.
Again, I am muting everybody. Please do not unmute your phone. I am muting you until we get the whole council on, and then I will unmute everybody. Just give me a second.
Let me see if I do.
Break 5305. Press 1 if you think President Trump is doing a good job in handling this crisis and protecting Americans. Medication sold online is counterfeit. Freedom Road, just as GetRona.com. Treatment is right for you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. We'll have all of the council members on for the meeting, the 6 o'clock meeting, which is now the 6:50 meeting.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I see.
Rodriguez is here.
Okay. Ms. Charles, are you on?
Charles is here.
Okay. And Mr. Hogan, are you on?
Yes.
Okay. We have all the councilors. Okay, so let me. You can read it. I'm not going to worry about the video today. Okay.
Somebody, I think it's Miss Conrad. Could you mute yourself? Your TV's on.
Call this meeting to order. This is Mayor Chris Riley. Today is Tuesday, September. Excuse me.
Hold on, Mayor. Mayor, it's Crystal.
Jackie Conrad needs to mute.
We do have a quorum. All city council members are present, and it does say Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, ma'am. There's
I hear some feedback from a radio or television.
It is Miss Conrad,
Okay.
and I have muted Miss Conrad.
Everybody that's not speaking, could you please mute your screen?
Your phone, yes.
Thank
It sounds better now, Mayor.
Yes, it
Does sound better. Okay, so if y'all could please join me. It says Pledge of Allegiance. So I know, Mr. Bradshaw, if you want to turn on your camera, you've got it. There you go. You've got it. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. And Mr. Bradshaw, if you'll lead us, please.
Sure.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Agenda item number 2, presentations. Number 1, presentation of the Ethics Review Board Annual Report as required by ordinance number 2019-10, Exhibit A, Article 7, Ethics Review Board, Section 9, Annual Report. And we have, I believe, Mr. Alan Bojorquez, the Texas Ethics Compliance Officer. Mr. Bojorquez, are you on the line?
Yes, Mayor, I am.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be a part of your meeting today. You should have a very simple one-page slide that constitutes the report from me and from the Ethics Review Board.
Hold on, let me get there. 2, 1.
Does everyone have it? Crystal, are you going to try to put that up on a screen?
There you go, Mayor. It's coming.
Oh, there you go. If anybody could do it, you could do it. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bojorquez.
Thank you very much.
welcome.
What we have here is a slide pointing out that I was named the Temporary Ethics Compliance Officer for the city of Leon Valley. I introduced everyone who's watching to the members of our Ethics Review Board, including our two chair people. David Smith is chair, Liz Malloy, Karen Seifert, Jessica Moffitt, and Karen Wiedlich. This report covers the last 12 months, and the board met 10 times during that period. During that time period, there were 2 ethics complaints, and we're required to report those. The first is EC 091919. There was a determination by the Ethics Review Board that a violation did occur, but no remedial action was recommended by the board. Second, there was a complaint EC 021220 that was filed, but soon after it was filed, the complainants requested that it be withdrawn, and the Ethics Review Board considered that request and approved the request for withdrawal. So no action was taken on it by the Ethics Review Board. During the preceding 12 months, the Ethics Review Board also went about the task of creating rules of procedure. Leon Valley's Code of Ethics is a little bit thin when it comes to process. How are complaints handled? How are evidence handled? What are some of the deadlines and timelines? Which actors do which tasks? Some of that was not contained in the ordinance, but the ordinance did allow the Ethics Review Board to create their own rules. So we had several meetings where we considered, drafted, and ultimately adopted and amended some of those procedural rules, in particular, how to go about conducting a hearing on a filed complaint. The final thing that I have to report today is that I have identified several parts of your current code of ethics that I think are worthy of reconsideration, either in the form of modifications, questions, or suggestions. I've gone through your code and highlighted those, made some recommended modifications, and submitted that to the Ethics Review Board for their consideration. I do know that members of the Ethics Review Board have suggested that they also have some changes they would like to recommend. And so I anticipate at some point they will be meeting again, putting together a list of modifications and submitting those to the City Council for consideration for future amendments. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Are there any questions, first from any citizens that are online that would like to ask a question of Mr. Bojorquez on his report? Okay, hearing none. Are there any questions or comments from the city councilors? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Bojorquez. Appreciate your work.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Office. All righty. Good night. Moving to agenda item number 2, under presentations, presentation and discussion on the Leon Valley Police Neighborhood Survey. And we have Chief Joe Salvaggio here this evening to present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Waiting on Crystal to get started. So I can get started a little bit with her. The purpose of the presentation was to notify City Council and our community of the preliminary results of the neighborhood survey. I say preliminary because we were in the middle of it when COVID kind of interrupted our lives like everybody else's. So we plan on continuing on with our survey at some point. So we just don't know when we're going to get to start back up, if ever, based on the circumstances. So this is no different than what we've been doing. You can go down to the 4th slide. Right there. This is no different than what we've been doing all along. Since I got here, we've been meeting with neighborhood associations, Citizen Police Advisory Committee, our neighborhood watches, and then we've had specific crime meetings in neighborhoods to just talk about what's going on in the neighborhood, because some of them don't have all of these things. And so what we wanted to do is get to the people that we were not talking to, which is one of the core competencies of community policing. And we wanted to hear from all. Everybody should have their ability to give us the feedback on what we're doing good and what we can do better. Okay. So we began talking about this at the Citizen Police Advisory Committee in November of 2019. We got some input at that point on the questions. We sat down with the officers and helped develop questions on things that they would like answered. That's how it was developed, and the questions were brought forth. The purpose is so that we can make sure that we're getting non-biased feedback directly from the citizens concerning police-related subjects. We've all seen the next door or the Facebook deals where they go out and survey people, but in reality, you're getting people from all over the country that are answering and people not from the community. And then, of course, there's an unreliability on whether or not those people that are created in the community are even the right people as well, because there is no fail-safes. It would never be accepted as part of a scientific study, and anybody that's gone to school knows that. And so we definitely wanted a face-to-face conversation with our citizens on what we're doing good and get their honest feedback on what we can do better. So far, we've went face-to-face with 600, and I say 600 face-to-face at their homes, but in reality, even some of the ones I did, there'd be 2 or 3 people there at the front door talking to us. Out of that 600, we have about 495 that are usable surveys so far, and we were still putting them into the system as late as this morning. And so that's why some of this stuff that you're going to get in there was not in the packet, because we were still really working hard to get all these things entered, and so we could tabulate and get you the percentages. But we wanted to make sure that only Leon Valley citizens are counted, and that their opinions are what matters to us. So why do surveys is a question I've got from a couple of people. I take this off the San Antonio Police Department. Many of y'all know I spent 29 years there. I ran one of these SAFE units, which is your community policing units, and I ran the problem-oriented policing unit, and was one of the first people that actually did a program, a POP program is what they're called, out in Indian Creek. And so I take this off and I highlight the red stuff because it's very, very important for everybody to understand that what we're doing is a collaborative effort. It's not anything, we can't do this alone. And that's why your crime has gone down so much, exponentially gone down. It's collaborative, it's founded on close mutually beneficial ties between the police and the community members. And I think we've really worked hard to make that happen. And so those partnerships between the police and community are problem solving as a method to identify and solve those problems that are concerned to the community, and then change management within the organization to accommodate that increased community involvement. And we're doing all those things, and we've been doing those same things together with our community for the last 3 years. So another point from the Bureau of Justice, the foundation of a successful community strategy are the close mutual beneficial ties between police and community members. It talks about community partnerships, and that we must develop positive relationship with the community, must involve the community in the quest for better crime control and prevention, and must pool our resources with those of the community to address their urgent needs of the community. And so we might think that they're really concerned about robberies, for instance, but they're really concerned about traffic in their neighborhood, which is truly what we found when we did the survey. And so we really want to focus where the community wants us to focus, and that's one of the major purposes of this. Effective community policing depends on optimizing all that positive contact, not only in patrol cars, but also through regular community meetings and forums, which will afford all of us and the community the opportunity to get those concerns and to find ways to address them. It's not a one-way thing where we're just out there telling the community on how it's going to be. For the last 3 years, I can tell you, since I've been here, that we've really reached out to the community and want to know what the community thinks, the entire community. So it's also collaboration between the police and the community that identifies and solves their problems. With the police no longer the sole guardians of the law, all members of the community become active allies in the effort to enhance the safety and the quality of our neighborhoods, straight out of the Bureau of Justice. Emphasis on making community members active participants in the process of problem solving. I think we've done that over the last 3.5 years, and not knocking anybody before us. I'm sure they were doing it before. I can just only speak to what's going on since I got here. So community policing allows community members to bring those problems of greatest concern to them, to the attention of the police. Once informed of their concerns, the police must work with citizens to address them, while at the same time encourage citizens to assist in solving the problems of the concerns that they gave us. And that's something that you'll see in here, that we got a lot of concerns that they had, most of them extremely minor, and we've dealt with those concerns and opened up that communication, lines of communication with people that we didn't have open previously because they're not part of a neighborhood association or a crime watch program or attending our CPAC or other meetings. Collaborative partnerships between the law enforcement agency and the individual organizations they serve is one of the three main components on community partnerships. If you look at organizational transformation, it talks about support community partnerships, problem solving, examination of identified problems to develop and evaluate effective responses. So when the question is asked, why would we do a survey? These are your answers. It's one of the backgrounds and the lowest levels of communication when we're not be able to do it through any other way is to get out there, get boots on the ground, and have those communications face to face with our community. So at this time, approximately 500 usable surveys. Why not send out a mail out? Well, I'll tell you why. First of all, most of y'all that actually attend some of these things know that the same people come to most of these meetings as the same 90 people, 75 people, whoever. A town hall, we had 90 plus opinions at the last town hall, less than 100, coffee with mayor, 70 or so. We did mail out a survey on animal ordinances, and we only got about 30 returns, and we mailed them out to every citizen out there. And our CPAC, we get 17 plus opinions, but they bring in a lot of their opinions from their communities, from their neighborhoods, and so that's probably been the best mechanism for getting information. And then I know that there was a park survey that was recently done that only got 20 or 30 returns back to us as well. So we just felt like that the online surveys are not reliable, and we wanted to go face to face and have a conversation with the citizens and find out truly what they think about what we're doing. All of the officers volunteered their time to do this. They wanted to be part of this community effort, and then want to look those citizens in the eye and find out exactly what the citizens feel and how they're doing as officers. And they wanted their true opinion. And really it was something that was very positive throughout. So it's overwhelmingly positive for both the citizens and the officers alike. We received the concerns directly from the citizens in the neighborhoods on issues they had concern of, which we followed up on immediately and resolved. And they were very happy to see the citizens of Leon Valley cared about their opinion. And the officers left with a sense of a grateful community for their effort, which I think is very, very important, that they understand that all the negative things that are thrown out there on social media or other stuff that they hear from that small vocal minority is not always factual when it comes down to going door to door and talking to the actual citizens. So here's some of the questions. I'll go through the questions one by one. This is one that actually surprised me, but it's okay because this was over a 2.5 year period, I think, on citations. So 323 people said they had not received a red light camera citation, and 143 said they had. And that's important as we continue on here because there's going to be something very interesting in that number. 56% had not received a citation basically in the last 2+ years. So out of the vast, vast majority of them, 116 in the last 2+ years had received, only 81% had received one ticket. As you can see, the numbers dwindle drastically on more than one. So when you ask the question, does it change behavior? In the conversations, it was obviously yes. You can see it right here from these numbers. Do you think they have been effective in reducing red light running? We had 78% believe they are effective. So if you go back to here and you see that 56% had not received a citation, then obviously some of those people believe that have received them also believe that they are effective. And here's what you find. 75% of those who previously received a citation said that they are effective. 75% believe that it changed their behavior and it stopped them from running red lights in the future. And so that's awesome. And that's why we have a 31% reduction in accidents right now in Leon Valley. So in the question of do we think we should remove the systems, 67% believe they should remain. Pretty much the same as those that had not gotten a ticket. So, but a lot of these people had also previously received a ticket. So 67% of those who received a citation do not want them removed. So obviously they believe and get it that the intent of the red light camera program is to keep people from running red lights and make our city safer, which it absolutely has. 80% reduction in injury accidents last year alone. Question on should junk vehicles be left in neighborhoods to include on private property? Overwhelmingly, 85% believe junk vehicles should be removed from the neighborhoods. Overwhelmingly. Have you called for emergency services in the last 2 years? If so, please rate that service as excellent, good, fair, or poor. As you can see, 96% related their experience as excellent or good. Only 3 said fair and 3 said poor. And so that's a huge number to give us some feedback on how we are serving the citizens of Leon Valley. So the citizens passed 18 plus ordinances since Home Rule Charter was voted in. Do you agree with the changes in the law? Some of these changes were keeping the sexual deviants out of the park, allowing us to keep the sexual deviants out of the motels and stuff, and quite a few others have been changed over the last 18 plus or last 2 years with council's approval. So as you can see, 97% agree with those changes that City Council has been making after the Home Rule Charter, and it's pretty much overwhelming. The citizens are very happy with those changes that have been made by City Council. So this question could have been worded a little better, and so what we found is actually 67% believe the changes in crime have been better, that actually answered it worse or better, but most said they didn't notice any crime in Leon Valley, and so really they had no real answer to give. They say, I don't know what crime is, and I haven't seen it in Leon Valley. So it's very interesting. That question obviously could have been written better, but it does show that out of 158 right there that actually answered this question, 67% believe that changes has gotten better in Leon Valley. So the rest of them were like, pretty much, I don't see crime, so that's a positive as well. And this question also could have been a little bit better. We didn't realize it. We really believe that we were asking for, were you a victim of crime in Leon Valley over the last 2 years? We didn't specify Leon Valley, so some of those people actually were new to Leon Valley and answered yes. And so that really kind of skews the number. But what you see is that actually 393 people said they had not been a victim of crime. So 85% of the people that answered that question said they had not been a victim of crime in Leon Valley. And then when we asked them, what do you feel is the number one crime in Leon Valley? Some of them were spot on. We had burglary being 41, burglary of habitation, which is very, very low, as being the number one. Traffic being anything that was traffic related was 54. Burglary of vehicle, which was really high, but we had a huge reduction over the last 2 years. And then theft, just generic theft, it was 92. But 33% of these, 163 people said they don't see any crime, or they really couldn't say because there's no crime that they know of, which is still a good positive for us. And the number one thing that we're always out here trying to make sure is the citizens of Leon Valley feel safe. And I've done these types of surveys in neighborhoods down in Indian Creek, in several neighborhoods throughout my career as a police officer and as a commander of law enforcement units. And I don't think I've ever seen a number of 97% feel safe in a town ever. And I've asked other people that have done surveys, and they've said they've never seen it as well. So that right there made my officers, your officers, feel happy, and I hope it makes everybody that's listening feel happy that 97% of the people feel safe in Leon Valley. That's the end. Stand for questions.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Let's see, we're going to do citizens first, and I'm not sure how many citizens we have on the line, or do we have also comments that we need to read into the record?
Yes, Mayor, this is Kelly Kinsler. I have a comment that was sent for this particular item.
Okay, why don't we start with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kinsler.
This is from Benny Martinez. Here are my concerns with the survey. No city council approval. Council should have approved the questions. An independent organization should have conducted the survey. It was wrong for police officers in uniform using city vehicles to conduct the survey. An independent organization should complete the data and present it to city council. Report the respondents' replies as presented, both negative and positive comments. Could this survey conducted by the police department be construed as city staff getting involved in politics? I question the timing before the May election. Was the survey an attempt to improve the negative image Leon Valley has in the metro area? That was from Mr. Benny Martinez.
You want me to answer any of those, ma'am?
Okay.
No.
Let's see. I'm not sure if yeah, I don't. Crystal, can you tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, are you waiting for other citizen input? They're just going to have to speak up so I can see who is.
I think let's hear from the citizens, written and verbal, and then Chief, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. Would that be appropriate?
I can't close this window. Hold on.
Okay. Do we have other citizen, either written comments?
Yes, Mayor, this is Sarah Smart. There's a few of us in the queue that have our hands up, so we're not really sure how we should be addressed.
Yeah, I can't see anything. That's why I was asking Crystal. I've got the screen on right now.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me,
She's trying to get everybody up there right now.
Presenting screen.
yeah, hold on.
So,
Okay, hold on. My mouse isn't cooperating with me. Just give me a second.
and while we're waiting, I have a chat comment from Charles Halsey, excuse me. I've been living in Leon Valley since 1990, and I can honestly say that I feel the police department is the best it's been in all my time here. So I'll read that.
Mayor,
Yes.
I also received an email comment that I could read on.
You
Yes,
can
please
just,
do.
oh, okay, I was going to say you could forward it to, would you please forward that to Sandra for the record as well? So,
Yes, I'll forward it.
thank you so
I'll
much.
forward it as well.
Thank you.
Okay, it says, greetings, Councilor Member Bradshaw. I know you're very busy, so with so many issues our city is facing. My concern rests with the recent impromptu Leon Valley Police survey, whose focus was Leon Valley Police. While no officer came to our home conducting the survey, I was made aware of the survey on the Nextdoor site where someone from Leon Valley Police sent out an email regarding the survey, and that off-duty police would be conducting the survey. The email mentioned low morale within the police force and of gaining citizen input as the reason for the survey. The troubling issues deal with the creation, implementation, and information gathered by the survey. Most concerning is the participation of Leon Valley staff, off-duty police officers, and the police chief. One person from Nextdoor who participated in the door-to-door survey noted the police chief came to her home. Having the police chief and other Leon Valley staff involved in the survey implies, one, receive the oversight and approval of Leon Valley City Council, therefore giving it legitimacy and importance. Two, survey intent, creation of the survey questions had prior approval of Leon Valley City Council. Three, survey results were entered for the review of Leon Valley, of the City Council, and eventually for the citizens of Leon Valley. If the police survey, with the clear goal of the participation of Leon Valley citizens, did not have prior approval from City Council, then it was an unauthorized survey of Leon Valley citizens. Therefore, the survey had no prior input, oversight, or approval from City Council, and should be turned over to Leon Valley City Council immediately and destroyed. If the police chief was involved in the survey, there could be a Fourth Amendment legal consequence for the city of Leon Valley. That's a question mark. At issue is the false appearance and misleading credibility of the City Council involvement allotted to this ad hoc survey. Any professional research firm will tell of the pitfalls in designing a quality survey. Public opinion can be manipulative, the choice of words, sequencing of the questions, underlying bias in the generation of leading questions. Also problematic is the assumption of prior knowledge or understanding of the concerns of Leon Valley citizens of the police department. Did they ask how long the Leon Valley resident had been living in Leon Valley? Further is the disturbing fact of off-duty police officers conducting the face-to-face questioning of Leon Valley citizens. Would this bring up the Fourth Amendment issue? Question mark again. The authenticity of survey results are doubtful when the Leon Valley Police Department is the subject of the survey and the police officers are conducting the face-to-face interviews. Would certainly invalidate its finding. This problem is called social desirability bias, where people may provide inaccurate answers to questions that involve sensitive subjects, and the inaccurate answers can be greater in face-to-face interviews. Pew Research Center citation. The survey's goal, the specific questions asked, the solicitation of information from Leon Valley citizens, the personal information gathered of Leon Valley participants, who has access to results, how it will be used, all send up red flags. I ask you to please investigate the survey of Leon Valley citizens regarding police department, demand they turn over the completed results, and destroy the information. Most troubling is the participation of Leon Valley staff, the police force, including the police chief, any Leon Valley City staff that participated in the creation, implementation, and collection of information should be held accountable, as it could place the city of Leon Valley in legal jeopardy. If your findings move you to remove anyone from their position or demoted any participant, I would support you. Can we not have Leon Valley City staff make decisions that undermine Leon Valley City leadership and incite any further legal issues? I know you have many important issues impacting Leon Valley, but I feel the unauthorized survey of Leon Valley citizens merit your immediate attention. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the citizens of Leon Valley. Hilda Gomez, zip code 78240. Oh, that was a mouthful. So I'll forward that. Ms. Kinsler, who else? You said to Sandra?
Just to Sandra.
To you and the chief?
Just to Sandra, just so she has it for the record, please. Thank you.
Okay. Any other citizens that would like to? I see Evan Boyle, Mayor. Would you like to recognize Mr. Boyle?
Yes, please. I'd like to recognize Ms. Bowl.
Okay, in actual all fairness, Sarah Smart had her hand up first.
Yes.
I'd like her recognized to speak before I do secondly. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. She did say that. That's considerate. Go ahead, Ms. Smart.
No big deal. Appreciate that, Evan. So I have a few questions. One is regarding the actual door-to-door information that was provided to the citizens. And one of them was to my husband. I was not home at the time. He was told that these surveys were going to be taken anonymously. And so with that, I asked, how do you determine what is a usable survey and what isn't? Further, so that's the first question. The second is, were some of these answers and responses piecemealed? Because you say there are 500 usable surveys, but to every question that you put on the screen that I jotted down really quickly, there was a different number of responses. The most strikingly low was whether we were satisfied and comfortable with the police force. There's only 157 responses, 100 affirmative. I think there's a 5 and a 3 and a 3. I didn't have time to jot down what those are responses to, but there's only 157 when there are 500 usable surveys. So did 400, 350 people decide not to answer that question for some reason?
They had not called for police services.
Chief Joe, if you're speaking, you're really, really quiet on our end. So if you could speak up a little bit, we'd appreciate it.
They had not called for any police services in the last 2 years. So they didn't have an opinion because they had never called for police services.
I'm sorry. You said that they didn't have an opinion. So well, you said earlier that 96 or 97% of people are satisfied with their police force. Is that correct?
No, what I said is that only the people that had called for police services could answer that question. The rest of them had not called for police services in the previous 2 years. Therefore, they had no opinion on whether or not our services were good or not because they hadn't called.
So the 97%, let me get this correct, the 97% of people that are satisfied is only 97% of the 157 people that actually could respond to this question?
No, it's misleading what you're saying here. What I said was that question, if you go back to the question is
Exactly correct.
Excuse me, let's let one person speak at a time. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that was. It was.
Yeah, no.
Who would-
Whoever is speaking, you will be dismissed from this call if you continue to interrupt.
So what the question, 97% were happy with the response. I'm not saying they're happy with the police department or 97% of the citizens. 97% of the people that had called for emergency services, not just police and fire, 97% of those people that had called for police services and fire services in the 2 years prior had reported that experience to be excellent or good.
And how many people actually said that they have affirmatively called the police or fire in the last 2 years?
Whatever that added up to, it was 90. Whatever those four added up to is that number. The
Right.
only ones that called for police services.
So 97% of 157 people, which is hardly, a reflective number of the citizens that have actually called or the number of citizens within our city. So my next question is, will the raw data be provided to the citizens for review?
Once we're finished with the survey, we'll definitely put that out there on the website.
And can you confirm that these surveys were taken anonymously?
Some people gave their names, some people did not want to give their names.
That's not my question. The officer told my husband on camera, mind you, that every single survey was to be taken and jotted down anonymously. So in other words, their name would not be associated with the data they provided. Is that correct?
Some people wanted their names given, some people didn't want their names given. So we, just like now, we plan.
That's not the question, sir. The question was whether the information was recorded.
Just like now, we don't plan on giving out people's names.
That wasn't my question, sir. My question was whether the name was recorded. I'm sorry, Mayor Riley, you said something? I cut you off.
No, we have to, we talk over one another. Are you asking if it was anonymous? And I thought I heard Chief say some people did want to give their name. Is that what you said, Chief?
Some people did, some people didn't.
So my question was not whether people provided their names. My question was whether the information they provided along with their names, if it was provided, was jotted down next to the data they provided. In other words, if I look at my husband's name, who did provide his name, will it show that he answered in the affirmative or the negative to any one of or any of these questions?
Okay. So that's the anonymous issue.
Right.
Okay. Chief?
I don't know how to answer the question, ma'am. I think I've already answered it, that we're not planning on releasing anybody's names as far as who said what. We put them into a database. It's just going to be the answers and the street is all we're planning on that we've put in there so far. So there shouldn't be any names to it, but yeah, I don't know how else to answer the question, ma'am.
My question was just basically why, if it's anonymous, why even accept or collect that data? So, this is one of the very reasons that I think the previous person was speaking on is that, some people are fearful of their name being associated with that information, regardless of whether the public can see it, you can see it, and every other police officer that they're going to rely on later will see those responses. And so I can't honestly say to a police officer, yes, I'm comfortable, when I'm really not, because I don't know where this information is going. And it goes to the root of the problem. These questions and the way this data was collected should have gone to the city council because it directly affects all of us, our security and well-being and our confidence in this police force. And if your goal was to establish that we're confident, you probably should have established some rules and some guidelines to the police force and to the citizens so that we have proper expectations set.
Okay.
I'm done.
Any
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Yes. So then we'll go back to Mr. Bowl. You were next.
Mayor,
Yes.
point of order, please.
Uh-huh.
This is Monica Alcocer. We aren't supposed to, on the citizens to be heard. I think it would be much better if we could move the meeting along. They're just supposed to be making their comments and not having an argument or a conversation back and forth. You had originally said if the police chief would answer questions, it would be after the comments were made. So I'd like to continue in that manner. Thank you.
Okay. And the rest of the council agree with that?
Yes, this is Rodriguez, yes.
I think ask your questions. Chief won't answer until the end. I think is what Ms. Alcacer is opposed to, going back and forth. Is that what I heard?
Yes, ma'am, or as in council meetings, we'd say they could talk to the police chief later, but to go back and have 15 questions and comments and then not listen or ignore the answers, that becomes a problem. So I think the citizens to be heard needs to be that they talk and tell what they think and not carry on a conversation, because that's not what the purpose of it is.
All right, who's next? Well, I thought, were you finished? Or you hadn't even started yet? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. And actually, regarding the police survey, in the comments I had about that was that it appeared that the public still believes that every single thing a department does in a city must go through the approval process of the council. And I'd like the council, as it appears one or more of those on council do not quite yet understand their role. I would like the citizens to understand that, for example, the police department may conduct a survey of the public regarding any aspect of operations of the police. Then they certainly have the autonomy to do so with the blessing of the city manager as it pertains to that specific department, as the chief has just laid out for us in the presentation, which, as promised, was anonymous. And so I believe his answers in his presentation regarding anonymity is correct, and anyone who desires to give their name is perfectly able to do so as such. I believe that at which time the information provided may then be put on the agenda for presentation, as it was, once the data has been compiled and organized. The concerns of many about this issue, to my belief, are unfounded and should not be raised, nor the misguided and irrelevant questions about said ideas should be raised if the results are a more focused finger on the pulse of the community to address and change those operations to be a better department, as the chief has just laid out for us in his understanding in this presentation about community policing, which is something I've been raising for a few years now, being that I have a law enforcement background myself and have desired the community to be more active with the police department in making sure our communities are safer. So we're seeing less and less posts on local social media like Nextdoor about crimes that are being committed left and right. So that is what I have to say about the situation regarding the presentation of the police survey. Thank you.
All right. Any other citizens?
Mayor, I had Eric Mata submit a chat, and
Okay.
he said, Crystal, I'd like to know why this survey was not brought before council during a public city council meeting for approval, and what does usable mean in regards to the 500 surveyed?
Okay. All right. So Chief, if you'll make a note of those questions to be answered as soon as we finish hearing from the citizens.
Okay, and then I have Charles Housey. I've been living in Leon Valley since 1990, and I can honestly say that I feel that the police department is the best, and it's been in all my time here. A user, it doesn't say by name, it says, I agree with Charles. Josh Stevens said Monica does not want to listen to the questions, comments, and concerns of the citizen. That is very disappointing. Mitzi said, wrong, I do not agree. They came to my home for the survey and asked me for my name and gave me no choice. Sarah Smart said, I would like to make it known that my husband was asked to provide his name. The officer was in uniform. Anonymous, thank you for reiterating. Evan, Chief Salvaggio gave a clear definition of community policing and clearly stated that this survey could be conducted without first bringing it to council. My officer was in uniform as well, as were they not supposed to be.
Okay. All right. Any other citizens online? I've got Rita Burnside. Are you on? I didn't know if she was going to call in on this or not. Chief, I had given you.
Okay,
yes.
hold on, Mayor. I had to unmute everybody. So if anybody now would like to speak that I had muted just a second ago, to speak up.
I just want to ask a quick question regarding, this whole new platform. It's my understanding it says be heard, you announce your name, where you're from, etc. But there are anonymous messages coming through on the chat box, and I just wanted to understand whether this is kosher.
That's a legal question. Charlie's on this call. Again, Charlie, her question was on the chat. People are signing in as anonymous, and I read the chat. Is that okay or not okay?
State law does not require you to announce who you are. I don't know if we have any local requirements, but state law doesn't.
There are none.
Hello. We just ask people to state their name when they're in the council chambers and where they're at. So, but that's a little different platform than tonight's.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Rita. Is
Okay,
everybody there?
You'll go ahead and state your comments on this issue, please.
So you're talking to me, Rita, right?
Yes, about the police survey.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you. First of all, I would like to have my letter read that I submitted at the last council meeting that had some questions, and then my comment and my experience with the survey. Because if the chief feels that the citizens' feelings are utmost important, I answered my questions with the most honest belief. So if you don't want to read the letter, I will read it.
Rita, go ahead and read it since you wrote it, please.
Okay, I had 7 questions, and those have been pretty much answered already, so I'm going to skip that and start saying that I would like to share part of my experience with the survey. I participated in numerous surveys, was interviewed in malls, by mail, on the phone, on the street, at research facilities, did consumer research studies, sat at round tables, and received payments for some of them, or just a simple thank you. The most recent Leon Valley survey was definitely a first, done by a uniformed policeman. While returning home from a walk that day, I was surprised to see one police car stopping at a friend's house around the corner and one of ours. We both had Josh Stevens' campaign signs in the yard. Is that a coincidence? So, you are doing a survey. Glad to give my opinion. As applaudable as the officer's sense of volunteerism is, I wonder if it would be not benefit the community more if such survey be mailed out or presented at a cup of coffee with the mayor, thereby freeing officers' volunteer hours to serve more humanitarian causes. City departments, patrol cars, and gas would not be used either. So, I answered the question swiftly and true to my views. After I answered the last question, which is phrased in a non-neutral way, like, what don't you like about the city? Something like that. My short answer was, I had a bit of a problem with the police chief's increased aggressive style. This impression stems from observations at many council meetings, news reports, and his public statements. Realizing that not all police department heads can be like Andy Taylor, or also known as Andy Griffith, and we don't live in Mayberry, it has been bothersome that healthy communications and solution-seeking methods are not implemented in a calmer, less personality-driven manner. I added then to the surveyor and emphasize now that I had always respected police officers from childhood on, not just due to the fact that I was raised that way, but also that I had policemen in my extended family. Well, apparently I flunked the last question because it prompted an unwelcome exchange of opinion between the pollster and the respondent. The police chief has to be aggressive to get things done, was his answer. That's why he gets things done, etc., etc., etc. How did I feel about his comments? Defending his boss's character? Commendable? Yes. Timely? No. Another important rule for survey taking is to keep respondents happy. Well, maybe next time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
Mayor, I had a comment from Jackie Conrad. She said, Jackie Conrad, living in Monte Robles Park, and we do not have much in the way of police protection, particularly when school is in session. Stop signs never obeyed. Recently, there was an accident in our front yard. It took 10 minutes for police to arrive. Edward Alonso said, sounds like a survey training should be done prior to implementation, though as a first hiccup should be expected.
Okay.
Mayor, just a suggestion, if we can keep the comments on topic.
Hi, this is Janie Garcia.
Janie Garcia? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I'm just a little bit confused. I'm listening, and it kind of just, everyone sounds so hostile. I don't understand what the problem is about the survey. That, for me, for the police to go to everybody's house face to face, you can't get more, like, that is just right in the weeds, community policing, which is what everybody would ideally want. And to go face to face and have time to interact with the citizens, I just don't understand where everybody's coming back. I mean, so like they had malice in mind. I don't think there were any negative questions that were being asked. I mean, the objective to me was to find out, get a pulse check to see how they could do better. And I don't understand all these conversations trying to accuse people about doing the wrong thing or having some kind of political agenda in mind. I think that someone threw out the number, oh, that's only 100 and something people. Yeah, it is, okay? And they obviously said that they're not finished yet. And to me, it's disgusting. It's disgusting that people are speaking this way during a time, especially during this time with the COVID-19 issue going on, everything that everybody's going through. It's really disgusting to me. I think that, to have, I understand what I heard earlier. The chief was talking about how, only the same 10 or 15 people come to a meeting. Yeah, it might have been 190 something people, but that's a hell of a lot more, a heck of a lot more people than 10 or 15 that are coming to a meeting. And it rings true because you can hear the people talking on the phone now are the same people that he's probably referring to. So, I mean, I think that to want to make the city better, and I don't understand how somebody that is a mayor of a city or even a council person would even want their city to be looked upon in a negative way. They should want their city to shine and their police department to shine and to speak positive things about them because that's a reflection of them. Anybody in leadership knows that. And to me, anybody questioning the fact that somebody was going in a police car, so what? They're on duty 24/7 as a police officer. If something were to happen, that person would have been there right then and there to take action. And the fact that they were volunteering, they weren't even getting paid, you know what that is? That shows only a leader can get someone to go on their off hours to do something like that without getting paid. That says a lot about the leadership there on the police department. So I think that all of you guys need to take a step back and really listen to yourselves, because it all is a disgusting, like anybody listening to this is just, I can't even believe it. But I think the police department is doing wonderful, and I just wish nothing but peace and safety for all of the first responders. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Crystal, did you want to read some of the other comments or?
Sure. So we have, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. I just want to make sure I got them all here. Becky Conrad. Eric Mata said a pulse check is not the job of our LVPD. Charles Housey said, I completely agree with whomever is speaking at the moment. Heather Riddle said, same. Anonymous, I agree as well. Nothing is more personable than getting officers out door to door. Mr. Alonso said, at first it was a shock, but I think it's quite creative. One of the key benefits of in-person interviews is connecting a face to the house and of the officers in the area. Relationships are essential to the neighborhood and policing. Misty said no. Misty said Kool-Aid drinker. Michelle Viejo said, I think if the police wanted really honest answers, an independent group should have conducted the survey. Many people will tell them what they want to hear, not the reality of things. Now, with that said, I had no issue with the survey, as I have no filter, and I will say as I please and feel. In the future, they may want to look to an outside source. Josh Stevens says, I was never surveyed. My ring never recorded any officer at my house. Why are your survey results counted, and my opinions and feelings about the police and law enforcement not desired? Anybody else out there that didn't have the officers come to your house? Anonymous, an outside source would have cost the citizens money. The officers volunteered. Josh Stevens, Joseph Salvaggio has already stated that the surveys are not being done, are not done yet.
Okay. I'm hearing some feedback. Is there somebody that's speaking? State your name, please. This is Mary Riley.
I'm trying to see who's caller 15. Whoever caller 15 is, I've muted you because I was just getting feedback and no words.
Okay. If there's no other citizens waiting
I would like to have some public comments on this matter.
I'm sorry. Would you state your name, please?
This is Justin Pulliam, and
Okay.
I was wondering how this rather small sample size and the results in this study, which I believe Salvaggio specifically said, I have never seen numbers like this before. Out of all my policing, all the studies, I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm just wondering, with this study, if those numbers, since he admits he's never seen anything like it before, is that real, or is that the methodology of the study? And next, how does that reconcile with the millions of people globally across the world who are aware of the aggressive activities of the Leon Valley Police? You have students in schools studying the dysfunction of Leon Valley across the country. People locally afraid to drive down the roads in Leon Valley and go to the businesses in Leon Valley because of everything that's going on. How does that reconcile with this rather small, questionable survey?
Mayor, I'm going to ask if we could please stay on
Thank you.
topic.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other public comments before we go to the council?
Hold on, Mayor. I got a couple of chats that came through.
Okay.
Letting the police conduct that survey is like having the wolves guarding the wolf house.
What are y'all talking about?
Okay, guys, if y'all are going to speak, you're gonna have to state your name.
Yeah. I need to know who you are, so we're making a record of the meeting, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you state your
Okay.
name?
My name's Ron Bookie.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
That's a good question. What are you people talking about? You make the Leon Valley Police Department sound like like a bunch of thugs. These guys are out there to protect and to serve. They're out there 24/7.
Protect and serve who?
Doing.
If you interrupt
The
again, I'm
citizens
going
of
to
Leon
dismiss you from the call.
Valley, and you know that, and it's, I'm sorry, ma'am.
One speaker at a time, please.
Yes.
I know you were somebody on top of you, and I just would prefer one person at a time.
Yes. And I've observed small municipalities throughout my adult life, and I've never seen a police department, or for that matter, a city manager that has worked as hard as they have in Leon Valley to help people. I mean, my goodness, we have. I've seen this in Bulverde. I've seen this in Castle Hills. I've seen it in a number of municipalities. But my goodness, these people are out there working, taking risks, and to attack them for no good reason, assuming that there's some kind of nefarious agenda behind simple questions, for crying out loud. Full disclosure, my grandfather and great uncles were all policemen during the Depression. And, you know, they didn't even see this kind of vitriol from certain areas of the citizenry. So, you know, I think there was a caller a little while ago who just said, y'all need to step back, listen to yourselves, listen to the vitriol y'all are spewing, and just be part of the community instead of constantly trying to raise trouble. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just be part of the community instead of constantly trying to raise trouble.
Somebody has their...
I'm just wondering if y'all are proud to be the disgrace of the entire nation.
Okay, so Mayor, we have a couple of people that are... Oh, I am. No, she can hear. Mayor, so we have a couple of people that are speaking over one another, and so I've muted them. I'm going to unmute y'all. If you would like to speak, you have to state your name.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please. That's the rule.
I don't see anybody else. I do have a couple of more chats. However, the city attorney has said because these chats, the words here can be downloaded and kept for record, I do not have to read them out loud.
Okay. All right, very good. So at this time, we'll end I think we've gotten a lot of input, almost an hour now, on this particular issue. I'd like to hear from the council. If you have any questions or comments on this particular agenda item. Mr. Bradshaw, I see your hand up first.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do want to comment on this survey that the officers performed, and say thank you to all the officers and I don't know who else was involved, first responders, staff, whoever else was doing the survey. Thank you for your time and for getting out there on your own time and doing these surveys. That's very admirable. And I know that people did appreciate the involvement of the police and being willing to put a face with a name and get out in the community. So thank you for that. One thing when I was first made aware of these surveys is because a citizen had messaged me and said, hey, what's going on? There's police coming around and doing surveys. And that's the one thing I wish that this was brought before council, or at least maybe not for approval, but at least to make us aware of it, because we weren't even aware that there were surveys going on. And so when citizens asked me what's going on with these surveys, I had to say, hold on, I'll check and get back to you, because I didn't know there were surveys going on. And then the other thing is, if it would have brought to council, if it would have been, I would have liked to see the questions so that we could give input, feedback on the questions. I think there is some validity to some of the comments earlier and the emails that were sent in about the social desirability bias that was mentioned in an email. if you have a police officer come to your home in uniform in their police car and ask you a question of, do you like the police? I think you're a lot more likely to say, yes, I love the police, because, it's the same thing when you go to a restaurant and you take a survey there on their quality of food and quality of service. You do it anonymously. You go online and you answer your questions whether or not you enjoyed your Chick-fil-A sandwich or whatever establishment you went to. And there's questions on there also that say, did an employee ask you to take this survey? Did they ask you to give high marks? And the reason they do that is so that they could throw out the ones that, if you say, yes, they asked me to take the survey, well, they're going to discount those responses, right? Because they're going to say that there's bias in those answers. So that's the one thing. And then also, was there any, I've requested the survey questions twice now from the city manager. Have not received those survey questions. And so I will be sending a request either tonight or tomorrow for the actual survey questions that were asked of the citizens. And I would like all raw data, all responses to review as well. And I wonder if the fire department was included at all. Was it only questions about the police, or was it questions about the fire or EMS services? And what about public works? Some of those, we're already spending the time. I know it's people's own time, but they're going around and asking questions. So I think we could have asked some questions about the other services of Leon Valley. So that's all my input. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other counselors' comments on this particular survey?
Mayor, this is Matthew. I've got a comment.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to commend the department on their initiative to speak with citizens of Leon Valley. I would just ask in the future that you give the council a heads up on any kind of other survey plans. We need to be able to use the e-news and such to let people know that they're coming. Chief Salvaggio knows that I believe in positive citizen police department interaction. We've already got neighborhood representatives from the police department, and I've also seen monthly reports indicating that the officers are talking to the citizens. And I always encourage more interaction between PD and the citizens in a positive way, as long as you're not running a red light or something. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's not any other questions from the other counselors or comments, I'll give mine. Yes, I do agree with a lot of what my colleagues have said. Sorry, that's my hands going all over. I would have liked to have gotten a heads up that this was going on. I just found out about it in March, and it started in November. So I would have appreciated the council being informed that this was going on. I'm all for community policing, that's for sure. But I've lived here for 40 years and I've never seen police go door to door except for in times of an emergency. So that was a little surprising to me. We have had surveys in the past and they've been inserted in the Waterville's, Lions Roar, or we had a St. Mary's University survey in 2014. And I thought we were talking about doing another survey. And so I agree that it would be a great idea to have expanded this as well. But I do, to other departments. Excuse me, is there someone talking? Okay. Also, I've always thought that the CPAC are our neighborhood representatives. And so I thought that that's how we had set it up, is for citizens to communicate with their CPAC representatives. So, and also I wanted to ask, how did you identify whose doors that the police officers went to? That's another question I had that I don't think we've gotten answered yet. So, but anyway, I mean, I like surveys. I think you can get a lot of good information, but again, there is a a way of doing them. I'm not a research analyst here, but I know that there's certain criteria that we need to follow. So anyway, we can definitely go from here. Is there anyone else that would like to? Then I'm going to let
Yes, I'd like to
Chief
say something.
questions. I'm sorry?
I'd like to say something.
Yes, who's that?
My name is Sally. Hi, my name is Sally. I'm calling from California, and even we know what a piece of shit Joe is.
Excuse me, please don't use inappropriate language. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to be respectful. Everybody has their opinion. We value it. We really appreciate it, but we need to be respectful to everyone involved on this conference call. Okay. Anyone else from the council? Okay. Chief Joe, did you want to respond now, or how did you want to handle the questions that have come your way?
I can answer them now. It's not a problem, ma'am. On the question is the question of what usable means. On some of these, all they put down was some information we were asking about whether they have cameras and such. And so some of the officers obviously didn't talk to the people, and they just noted a few things that we were looking for, and so they really weren't answering any questions, and so that wasn't really usable for our purposes of the survey. On the mute them all.
And then.
So just so everybody knows, one of the First Amendment auditors has been live streaming from and telling people to come out, and so that's why you're getting all these nasty comments. Justin Pulliam, that was one of the guys from earlier. So on the issue of city council needs to approve, I've done surveys for years, and so I've never heard of a city council approving. Kind of like what Mr. Bowl said, that's kind of interesting. But I'll tell you why we didn't want that. We didn't want anybody going through and doing exactly what we're seeing now, trying to skew and trying to cause issues with it. We wanted a face-to-face. This is the first time they've heard about the survey. This is the first time they've heard the questions. And so that we get a response that's based on their thoughts, not on any political motive, not on any issues that they've read on Nextdoor or anything like that. We wanted it to be the true, honest response. So we didn't want any interference with the process. And as you can see, if we'd have done it from the beginning, this is exactly what would have occurred, what you heard tonight. Whose doors did we go to? They were given streets and they went and knocked on doors. They weren't given names of people. They just went down the row on a door. If they haven't got to a door, then they haven't got to them. It was a completely random, here's a street, go down the street. So it's not in any way us trying to skew the numbers or anything like the conspiracy theorists are saying here. It was truly an attempt to get what the citizens of this community, not the ones you're hearing out there from California, of this community, and wanting to know what they think, and why we didn't do it on Nextdoor. I think I've already answered that question once, but I'm really confused because there's quite a few surveys that have been done lately on Nextdoor, including by a city councilman, that I don't think were brought to this board to get any level of approval. So I'm really not understanding kind of what some of the people have said here, the vitriol from anybody on us getting out and finding out truly what the citizens think. And so if that's offended somebody to have a policeman at their door, I really don't know what to say about that. The policemen of this community are out there to serve everybody. And if they don't like policemen coming to their door, I'm sorry. But we don't know who likes us and who don't like us when we knock on that door, whether it's for a call for service or when we're out there looking at trying to find out how we can better our community through partnering with our people. So I think that's everything.
Yes, this is James Jefferson. So proud of y'all's corruption of your chief. And I'm
Mute them all. Mute them all.
Excuse me, sir. Chief, you said it was random. Did you hit every neighborhood in the city?
We had plans to hit every neighborhood. I don't think we've gotten to a couple of the smaller ones, and we had just started. I don't know. I wouldn't say just started. We've been in Forest Oaks for just a very short period of time, but we have plans. Had plans. We had apartment complexes that were scheduled that we were going to go have meetings with them, and all that was preempted by the COVID.
Okay. And did you say why the council wasn't notified? I was just curious about that. I don't think you answered that one.
Never heard of the council being notified ahead of time of a survey. And we do surveys all the time here for the city of Leon Valley in all different departments. And we did talk about this at CPAC, and it was discussed, and there were some things in one of the meeting minutes that discussed just a little bit of it, but it didn't go into a lot of detail. So I don't know to bring something to council that's not part of what normally goes to council. I've never heard of that. And in 32 years of law enforcement, never heard of that. So
I just think it's a respect, for the council and, just what's going on in the community. We should be aware of it because we do get calls from the citizens. So that's what I would ask.
And it definitely wasn't meant as disrespect, ma'am. It's just, it's not something that would even be thought of that we need to let y'all know ahead of time. So.
Mayor, I also have to take responsibility too for this because I knew it was in front of the CPAC and I knew it was in the meetings that was on the city council agenda. You guys approved them. And I could have brought it to your attention during the city manager's report and it just failed me. So, I have to own up to, because I try to notify you of as many things as I can. So my apologies for that.
That's correct. And also, I had also, as I believe Mr. Bradshaw, I did ask for a copy of the survey and the raw data, and I would also request that again, please. I have not received that. I'd like to review it as well. So thank you. All right. I think we're going to move on then.
I had a question for the chief.
Now, who is that?
My name's John. Chief, I'm just curious, what would it make a difference whether Justin Pullum is a First Amendment auditor, constitutionalist, or a supporter of his rights? That has no bearing on the questions that are being asked of you. So why is that a factor in what you're saying? It has nothing to do with who he is or what he does. The question was, what is those questions that you had on your questionnaire? What are the numbers? That's what he was asking you. It had nothing to do with his First Amendment auditing. It has nothing to do with his constitutional rights to ask these questions. So why bring that up?
Okay. Thank you, John. Unless there's other questions, because I believe we moved from the citizens to the council. If there's no other council input on this particular agenda item, I would like to move to the city manager's report. And those of you that did not get a chance to ask your questions or comments, could you please email them to the city?
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, this is Catherine Rodriguez. I have a question. I saw right now one of the comments pop up from one of our citizens, and I was meaning to ask Crystal, but everybody was talking. I thought that citizen comments were reserved for citizens of Leon Valley, not people from outside of the state or outside of our area.
I'll defer to the city attorney on that. I thought,
Mayor,
Mr. Zach?
Mayor, I'm sorry. This is Sarah Smart. I'm so sorry. You see, that was the reason for me asking the question earlier about the anonymous post, because it's hard to confirm whether we're citizens of Leon Valley if we're allowed to post anonymously. So it's a double-edged sword.
So Charlie, the question is whether or not the residents have to be, or the citizen comments have to be from residents of Leon Valley.
You cut out. I didn't hear. I couldn't. there's some cutting out on my end. I couldn't hear the full question. But what I thought I heard was, do you have to allow non-residents to speak? I actually don't know the answer to that question. There's no real case law on the answer to that question. I can tell you, though, that as I mentioned previously in a different conversation, that the governor of Texas has suspended the requirement to require input on all agenda items. And so you might take that into consideration.
I'm sorry, you said the governor has suspended the ability to allow input on all agenda items?
Yes. So what the governor did is he suspended the rule that requires input on every single agenda item.
Okay.
Shouldn't you turn to the chief? He apparently has control.
Mayor, this is Monica Alcocer.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I agree with Sarah Smart. Particularly on this last item, I think the survey the intent was the better communication with the police, with the citizens of Leon Valley, and the chat has kind of become a zoo, mainly of people who are not residents, and many who don't even live in the state. The survey, if we go back to what the purpose was, the original purpose was for the police and to get to
Go ahead. Ms. Alcacer, go ahead.
And I think that I had attended one of the meetings, the citizens community meetings, and they were passing out the surveys then, and they were handwritten to talk to the police then or not. So everything, I think it's a whole misperception of what was going on, and the outsiders of Leon Valley are adding to it. I think sometimes their contributions on other topics would be okay, but this one was not an appropriate one for the whole world to speak, because it defeats the purpose of what the police were trying to do.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Zeck, this is again Mayor Riley, and we've always gotten input on every agenda item. That's just what we've been doing for years, and so I guess it's kind of hard not to do that, but you're saying that the governor said we don't have to do it. So I think that's going to have to be a discussion for the council, because it's hard to go back on what we've been doing, and it's still allowable is what I'm hearing you say. It does make our meetings long.
I'm not suggesting that the council do anything. I'm simply stating that the governor waived the requirement, the current statutory requirement that was recently adopted in the last legislative session that requires council to allow input on every single item as you go down the list. That's all I'm telling you.
Okay, thank you.
Y'all
All
can do
right.
whatever you-
I appreciate it. So I would say if any citizen or whoever did not get to weigh in on that particular agenda item number 2 on the survey, please send in your comments to our city secretary, s.path. Yes?
If I may, and please, our rule was that they had to have the full name and an area or place where they lived.
Okay.
And I think that's important in people to send it.
I just muted her, hold on.
Excuse me. Yes, so send those to s.pass, P-A-S-S, at leontexas.gov. Okay, so we're going to move on to agenda item number 3, the city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, if you would begin, please.
Yes, Mayor, very brief. Just want to let everybody know that Staff is either in different rooms in City Hall or we're practicing. There's only 4 of us in council chambers and we're at least 8 feet apart. So we're trying to practice strong social distancing. The rest of the council is obviously either at their home or Mr. Hody is at the fire station. So everybody's spread apart. The fire department is planning to move their staff to the 4896 work schedule due to the evolving COVID-19 situation. The department has been contemplating the move for several months prior to the outbreak of the pandemic. Due to the current state of conditions, they are moving to a modified work schedule for the next 3 months or until the pandemic is under control. We've also received a large, or STRAC actually received a large shipment of personal protective equipment, and per our request, Leon Valley will be receiving an allotment. I believe we were one of the first cities to get our request in. They are currently dividing the shipment for pickup as we speak. We should hear something, I think it was supposed to be today or tomorrow, about our allotment. The allotment will be for both the police and the fire. The fire department will pick up the supplies as soon as they get the call. They'll be stored in our EMS supplies room, and then we will supply PD from those supplies in the firehouse. I also want to congratulate Ana Federico, who has accepted the position of the Assistant Records Clerk. She will now be assisting Sandra. That is the position that you, the council, approved a few months ago, I believe, maybe a month and a half ago. She will begin in 2 weeks.
Shut the fuck up.
She will begin in 2 weeks, and she just accepted the offer today. And Mayor, I would ask that the person who's used the F word twice now, Mr. Pulliam, if Crystal can please just permanently delete him. I mean mute him, I'm sorry.
I can't permanently mute him, but I can disconnect the call, and the one that just said it was Justin Webb.
Oh, Justin Webb, I'm
So
sorry.
I will have to, with the mayor's permission, I can disconnect him.
That needs to be, if you use foul language, we're going to disconnect you. I'm sorry. That's just not acceptable.
Thank you, Mayor.
We don't have to treat each other with disrespect. We can share our opinion in a civil manner. So please don't use the inappropriate language.
She didn't tell me to.
Okay, so it's okay that the two that
I
are
said,
using
go
the
ahead.
F word
Use
to...
the inappropriate language, which I heard. Go ahead and disconnect it.
Okay, thank you. We just wanted your permission, Mayor.
I'm asking everybody to be considerate, please, and be civil.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kinsler, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I think I was finished. I just wanted to say congratulations to Ana Federico. She accepted the position of Assistant Records Clerk. She'll be assisting Sandra. She'll begin in 2 weeks.
Can you just shut the fuck up?
Excuse
There's
me?
another one. Justin Pulliam has used it twice. Thank you.
Okay, if you'll please disconnect him. Okay, thank you.
Did it.
Ms. Kessler, I just had one thing on the, just the next city council meeting is Tuesday, April 21st, and it says in council chambers, and I'm assuming we're going to continue because the emergency declaration is through April 30th.
Absolutely.
To shelter in.
Absolutely.
We'll continue.
Yes, ma'am. And we'll
Is that
get the
correct?
language from our attorney for that meeting, just like we did this one. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you for that question
you.
and the clarification.
So are
I'm
there?
sorry,
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
I
Yes.
just have to point out. I'm sorry, this is Sarah Smart. That was not Justin Pulliam that said those things. So y'all just disconnected somebody that's been sitting there in silence, and somebody else is going to keep bringing these things up. So I just wanted to point that injustice out.
Mayor Crystal actually can see who's unmuted on the master screen over here and who was lit up at the time. So she just, that's how she did it.
And somebody
Thank
else
you.
just came on right now. Guys, I'm doing the best I can. If I see a mic go off, that's the ones that I am muting and unmuting.
I saw that name as well, so I don't know. In my
That wasn't Justin Pulliam.
There's two, no, there's two, both Justins have used the F word. I don't know which one.
I think it's pretty unfair to target.
Okay. All right.
It seems
So
like
are
we're
there any?
targeting one person.
Okay.
See, this
Are
is
there
the problem when you target a person and you label them.
Let me ask that if the counselors have any questions, any further questions for the city manager.
Mayor?
Yes.
This is Councilor Charles. I just see on the agenda that movies in the pool would start May 23rd, but that's dependent on what's happening, right?
That's correct.
Mayor
You
Councilor
bet.
Charles, yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Everything is still in flux. Okay. All right. So now we do have a agenda item number 4, citizens to be heard. Now, I need for you to state your name and where you live. This is a timed.
And then, Mayor, we've received more citizens to be heard this time we've received more participation this time than any meeting I've been at in almost 5 years. So I have a stack of citizens to be heard for this item and a stack of citizens to be heard for a later item. So just let me know when you'd like me to proceed. It's going to take a little bit.
Okay. Let's go ahead. You have citizens to be heard to be read?
Yes, ma'am. That have
Into
been
the record?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you go ahead and start with that, and then we'll open it up to the citizens that are online. And I just want to remind all the citizens or the participants that are online that this is a 3-minute limit. Prior to this agenda item, we didn't keep time, but we will keep time. Ms. Caldera, if you'll help me on that.
Yes, Mayor. And so the callers that are on, we're going to try to do one by one and see if we can get it done. Because when I unmute everybody, Mayor, we are going to have callers just shouting profanities and all kinds of stuff, because there's a lot of callers on here that I have everybody muted with the exception of the council. The council can mute and unmute themselves. But when we open up citizens to be heard, I have to unmute everybody to see if there's citizens that want to speak. But it will probably cause a little bit of chaos, so I'm forewarning y'all.
Can you do it one at a time?
I cannot.
Okay. We're going to start with Ms. Kinsler, and she's going to read. How many citizens to be heard comments are you going to be reading right now?
Okay, for this section, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I think, unless that's the same one, 12.
You know what this tells me?
13.
That people prefer this mode of communicating rather than the city hall.
I have 14. Yeah. Just for this section. I have more for later down. The city secretary has separated them for us.
Okay.
She just handed them to me just about 30 minutes ago. Okay, the city secretary's timing my reading on each citizen, and if I go over 3 minutes each citizen, she will stop me. I don't think I will, Sandra, maybe on one of them. Okay, the first one is from Ms. Tina Chasen. Please explain why there needed to be a council meeting tonight, putting at risk all those that are physically there in attendance, defying Governor Abbott to stay and shelter in place. There is nothing of such grave importance that would necessitate such a meeting at this time. Lead by example. Respectfully, Tina Chasen. Benny Martinez, to be read at Citizens to be Heard. The mayor is the head of the city council. We need one voice to make public posts. I feel the mayor should be making all posts on Nextdoor and on TV and not coming from the city manager. The mayor should review and approve all posts from the police and the fire department. The next one is mayor and council. As citizens of Leon Valley, we are very concerned about the troubles taking place in our city and with our council. We have been residents for some time but are not always available to attend the meetings live, so we are often obligated to watch the meetings after the fact via the city council meeting link on the city website. What bothers us is that you, Mayor, as the prefect of the city, continue to claim that all council staff and citizens are to be treated with respect, but so often those words come across as empty words. We have seen time after time a very vocal group of individuals be very hostile and antagonistic towards the sitting council, to the city manager, and again, as of last meeting, the current LVPD chief Salvaggio. We are all in favor of differences of opinions and respectful disagreements, but we feel that the attacks have gotten out of hand. We respectfully ask that you, Mayor, put a stop to it so everyone can engage is positive exchange of ideas and differences in order to address city business instead of the constant interruptions and personal attacks. Respectfully, Mickey and Janet R. Good evening, Mayor, Councilman, and staff. I am writing tonight for 2 main reasons that have been bothering me for a while, and I'd like for this to be read at tonight's meeting. The first is for all, and I really do mean all, that's capitalized, citizens to be held to the same standard when addressing our elected, appointed, and hired leaders. That standard be respect. While we may not all agree with who these people are or what they represent, I believe that all of our leaders have earned the right to respect. That means we should address them with and in the manner taught to us from a small age, not with the derogatory and just outright cruel terms that I've seen and heard spoken in recent weeks and months. Second, I know that there are some issues on the agenda tonight that are sure to raise blood pressure and bring out heated discussions from people on both sides of the aisle, as well as those in the middle. I feel strongly that in order to keep our city government from falling apart, we need to be very mindful of the language of our charter. I know you all were in support of with the exceptions of Councilors Hody and Bradshaw, as I have not had the privilege of discussing their viewpoints on our charter. That said, I expect whatever the outcome of those discussions, our charter be upheld as written. I appreciate you reading this to me and do so hope to be in attendance again soon. Amber Mauser. Esteemed Leon Valley City Council, it is during difficult times that communities come together. We have seen all levels of government, local, state, and federal making appropriate responses to this unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. Our people first philosophy at CPS Energy drives our work, actions, and outreach to the community, especially during this time. The city of Leon Valley is doing the very same in many ways. CPS Energy felt it was vitally important to announce a moratorium on disconnections on March 11th, just as the city of Leon Valley has done for water and sewer utilities. We continue to work in providing affordable budget payment plans and offer energy conservation tips to customers every day, just as the city of Leon Valley continues to provide needed services to residents virtually on the phone and online. A perfect example of this is the selfless and compassionate work by the City of Leon Valley staff, manager, and Chief Joe Salvaggio, the Leon Valley Police Department, the many volunteers that are extending a helpful hand to the most vulnerable senior population. When the senior center was locked down, the team went to work and provided the seniors with meals and medications. This grew and other residents in need called out, and the team responded by replacing fire alarm batteries, removing hazardous waste materials, and even replacing light bulbs. This has not gone unnoticed by us or many others. As they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Mayor Chris Riley, City Manager Kelly Kinsler, and Interim City Manager and Police Chief Joe Salvaggio, the staff and volunteers, you have all stepped up in this extraordinary way to serve your community. We applaud you, and we want you to know that your time, effort, and your love for your city is demonstrated and has not gone unnoticed and is greatly appreciated. Please keep up the great work, and should you find that your residents have questions on how CPS can help support them during these difficult times, the local government relations team stands ready to help. Respectfully yours, Linda Rodriguez. The next one is greetings to the mayor, members of the council, and anyone else present at the meeting. I'm writing concerning the discussion and possible action on the findings of the Ethics Review Board. I think this one should go to 8-5 against Chris Riley pursuant to 304, and let me read the rest of it real quick. I wanted to assure that our city remains a place to be. Sandra, I think this one should go to the last agenda item. Do you? Just hold on to that. Okay. The next one.
Mayor, I keep muting somebody and they keep unmuting themselves, so you keep hearing their background. So positive people prevail.
It's just
Positive prevail. With your permission, I can disconnect the caller. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Mayor.
Who is that again?
Positive people prevail. I keep muting everybody so the city manager can get through, and he keeps unmuting himself.
Okay. And you want to disconnect him permanently?
Or just if you want to give him a warning that if he unmutes himself again.
Let me give him a warning like we would do at a regular city council meeting. If you do it a second time, then we'll have to disconnect you, please. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. The last one I'm not going to read until later on down the agenda because I don't think it's not as general. It's very it points at an agenda item specifically, and that's all it's about. Okay, please read at City Council meeting tonight. My name is Shirley Jonas. I am a senior citizen and I live in Shadow Mist subdivision. I have heard how a member of the council has been bashing our police officers. I know personally that Leon Valley officers in this time of need have been putting themselves at risk by getting medication and groceries for our senior citizens.
Fuck you, Justin.
It's the same person again. On March 16th, the police chief and fire chief both came to my home and asked me as president of the Northwest Seniors to contact all members who live in Leon Valley and tell them the library and community center were closed until further notice, and ask them if they were feeling okay or if they needed any food or medication. The members who I spoke with so appreciative that the chief thought of them. And some said they were so glad that they lived in Leon Valley where these chiefs thought so much of their senior citizens. I had one couple that needed medication picked up and the fire department took care of them. On March 24th, Chief Joe called me and asked that I contact the seniors again to see if they were in good health and if they needed food and medication. Members I spoke with told me how safe they felt when someone from the city was checking on them. Again, the police picked up medication and food. Lieutenant Wells personally picked up food for me, and I have had a number of calls for medication pickup or food pickup. I know the officers are handling other duties while helping senior citizens. So, Mr. Bradshaw, they are keeping you safe while helping us seniors. The city puts out... can we please
I
stop
don't know
that?
who that was. I can't, I'm great at eyes, but somebody's going to have to help me.
The city puts out email, but a number of these seniors do not have computers. I have not been contacted by the mayor or Will Bradshaw showing their concern for the Northwest seniors. So, Mr. Bradshaw, quit bashing the Leon Valley police officers, and Mayor Riley, quit allowing him to bash the officers. Mayor Riley, since you were found guilty of violating the Leon Valley Charter, take your punishment and remove your name as a candidate for mayor at the next election. Shirley Jonas. The next one says, Ms. Kinsler, on behalf of both myself and wife, please allow us to submit a note of support and vote of confidence for our police department and Chief Joe Salvaggio during tonight's Citizens to be Heard. We are hearing disturbing accusations of Gestapo-style tactic by the chief over a variety of matters. Chief Salvaggio is a trusted and competent official, and frankly, the best chief our police department and city has had in a long time. As you are probably aware, the chief recently led a Support Leon Valley business campaign that personally motivated my wife and I to help. We'd like to see a return to normal in our wonderful community. My message for all is to put aside your personal dislikes and return to providing service to the city and its citizens. This is from Robert Bundy and his wife, but it doesn't say her name. The next one is Ms. Sandra and Ms. Kelly. I submit the following for the first Citizens to be Heard segment tonight. I would like to address Councilman Will Bradshaw's comments during the City Council meeting on March 25th, 2020. Not once but twice, he referred to Chief Salvaggio and the police department as acting like the Gestapo. That is not only an outrageous slander on the police department, it trivializes the 11 million people slaughtered in camps like Auschwitz or machine-gunned in places like Babi Yar. The spur-of-the-moment comment does not forgive this in light of he and Josh Stevens' well-orchestrated attacks on the police department. My neighbor tells me this kind of language and unsubstantiated attacks are common on local social media, one of the many reasons I stay away. I suggest you both make a pilgrimage to Yad Vashem, throw yourselves on your knees, and beg forgiveness. If there is a kind and loving God, may He forgive you, but I shan't. We've lived here 40 years. If this is the future of leadership of Leon Valley, I want no part of it. You're both beneath contempt. You disgust me. Dwayne Smith. This is Miss Pastelet. Okay, I think he had two of these. I got to figure out which one he wanted read. 4/7. So this would be the most recent. Miss Pastelet. He's sending you, appreciating your responses here, so I don't know. I'm going to read his first one and see if I'm supposed to read a second one. Okay. To Leon Valley Mayor Chris Riley, Mayor Pro Tem Monica Alcacer, and then blind copied the council. Let's see. Due to the current worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, I would like to request that you all cancel the April 7th City Council meeting. Below is a warning from Dr. Bricks about the serious of the COVID-19 virus that we are all currently dealing with. Dr. Deborah Birx had a stark warning Saturday for people sheltering in place across the United States. This is the moment to not be going to the grocery store, not going to the pharmacy, but doing everything you can to keep your family and friends safe. Birx said at a White House press briefing, CNN reports. The citizens of Leon Valley do not expect you all to risk the lives of the city staff and yourselves in order to hold the city council meeting. Nothing on the agenda is worth exposing everybody to this deadly virus. And just so everybody knows, there's 4 staff members who either have masks on and we all do social distancing here. Okay, that one was already read. This one is, Dear Mayor and Council members, due to the fact that we are all under physical distance restrictions, it does not make sense to have a city council meeting at this time in place, i.e. the council chambers, for the following reasons. The maximum number in attendance around the immediate vicinity of the meeting site will most exceed 10. I think maybe this was when we were, I'm not sure. 2, a quorum will most likely not be achieved as most council members will only be heard, not seen. And at our houses, if they are not visually present, how does the average person listening know the voices coming out of the loudspeaker are actually those that they say are? How do you really know? It could be an impersonator among them, or they are answering voting under pressure from somebody behind them. Yes, a very far-fetched theory, but anything nowadays is possible. This being the Holy Easter week, we should all take time out and reflect on what a holiday is about and not practice politics as usual. Thus, I respectfully request that tonight's April 7th council meeting be canceled. That's from Rita Burnside. First, let me say, this is the next one. First, let me say that it is beyond sad that we are having to go through these hearings at all. One would expect that the mayor and members of city council would be honest and above boards at all cost and to represent the citizens of Leon Valley fairly. Unfortunately, this is not the case with our current mayor and one of the council members. My complaints are as follows. It is my opinion that the mayor allows her group to belittle our police department at all times, especially the police chief. He and all members of the Leon Valley Police Department have done a remarkable job in keeping the city safe and as free from crime as possible. One would certainly think that the mayor of all people would be grateful to them for all they've done, but apparently not. If the mayor cannot show respect for our police department, then she shouldn't be surprised when other citizens don't either. Sadly, the mayor seems to honestly believe that she is above the law. Rules and expectations of proper and honest behavior are to apply to everyone else, but not to her and her cronies. A former council member had to leave his seat on the council because of his bad behavior and refusal to abide by the rules. So why not the mayor? It is time to have someone as mayor and also as council members who truly and honestly want only to represent and do what's best for the citizens of Leon Valley and who are willing to follow the law. The mayor seems to have a heightened sense of entitlement regarding herself and some of her cronies. Rules are for everyone else, but not her and her friends. Richard Blackmore, Forest Haven Street. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. The first thing I would like to address is it appears the public still believes that every single thing a department does in the city must go through the approval process of the council. And I would like the council, as it appears, one or more of these on council do not quite
Justin is a nigger.
do not understand their role. And I would like the citizens to understand that should any department, for example, the police department, conduct a survey of the public regarding any aspect of operations of the police, then they certainly have the autonomy to do so with the blessing of the city manager, at which time they may then put on the agenda for presentation once the data has been compiled and organized. The concerns of many about this issue are unfounded and should not be raised, nor the misguided and irrelevant questions about said ideas should be raised if the results are a more focused finger on the pulse of the community to address and change to a better department. I would also like to address the concerns raised about the elections being moved to November. I would first like to praise the Leon Valley government for doing absolutely everything it can in this time of a pandemic, following the guidelines of the CDC and for following the examples of organizations and governments around Leon Valley and Bexar County, Texas, and the United States to shift all elections to the November timeframe. Some, it would seem, would like to criticize this move and create conspiracy theories that are just flat-out lies by bringing up a double cost that is yet covered by the allotted funds in this fiscal year to be moved to next fiscal year. The funds are the same and the financial reports can be organized as such. The other concerns raised are time between municipal elections are too close and create instability. The very thought of having these so-called concerns in this time is even more troubling than the conspiracy theories tirelessly concocted by citizens. This pandemic as a whole has altered every aspect of life for us all, and we need to simply take each change with as much positivity as we can. Final comment to be made with regard to any discussion and or possible action about the mayor and the ethics violation. I would ask that the ethics board's recommendation be upheld and that no action be taken, and it is clear that though there was a violation per the mayor's admission, I believe that in this time there's enough chaos ensuing that this sort of violation, given the single situation, be forgiven, and that a reprimand, whether written or verbal, along with the ethics board findings, be made on the record for the future. As always, I count on the prevailing wisdom and collective decision-making of the council to remain stable despite the persistent chaos being concocted in the community by some citizens. Kindest regards, Evan Bull. And that's it for this section, I think. Am I right, Sandra? Okay, that's it for this section, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any citizens online that would like to speak? You have 3 minutes. Just state your name.
Mayor, I would like to speak.
I'm sorry, is that, state your name and where you live.
This is Ray Orozco, Pomona Place.
Okay,
I
very
have seen
good.
the signs that have been
Hey, what's up, sir? I'm masturbating my boycott too, Daddy. I like getting off with older men. Oh, I do, sir. I like that. I like playing with a grown man's cock. Oh, I love to wake you up.
Oh, geez Louise.
Crystal,
I'm just.
can you please?
We're getting
yeah,
rid of
I know.
him.
I kicked him off.
Easy.
Go ahead, Mr. Orozco.
We need to start over on his.
I am.
We need to start over on his 3 minutes, please.
Yes.
We are, Mayor.
Thank you. And mine's really short. I have seen the signs that are on Bandera Road, and I think that they've done an excellent job putting them up there. I just don't know who was the one that made the determination of who was going to get signs and who wasn't going to get signs. There's a couple of mom and pop stores that are on Evers and Huebner that did not receive one, and the owner said that he wouldn't mind paying for one if he's allowed to put one in there. What I wanted to find out if there's money still that's been allocated that we can provide this mom and pop stores some signs. And that was it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Orozco?
Email that, Mr. Roscoe, and then we'll submit it to the chief and city manager.
It's a really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I make a suggestion? Because we're having a lot of these callers call in that we take the attorney's advice and suspend citizens to be heard and have the citizens that want their comments just to email us and we will read them at a later time, please.
Or read them now.
I agree with that.
I'm going to not make, I'm going to ask my counsel to weigh in on that. Is that because, I mean, I don't know how many more people we have online that have been waiting for over a couple of hours to say something.
Mayor, and if I can, also,
maybe
this is Kelly.
Maybe what we could do is get through the citizens to be heard and then just say, there's no comment on the rest. I don't know. Go ahead, Ms. Alcacer. So tough one, because I like to hear from citizens. Go ahead.
Mayor, that was me, Donna Charles.
I'm sorry.
And I just what I heard.
Dog shit. I love dog shit. Dog shit. Shit. I love dog shit. I like dog.
Mayor, this is clearly not going to work.
I like dog shit. Dog shit. Dog shit. I like dog shit.
I believe that we should not hear the rest of them.
I got him off, but I mean, Mayor, this is obviously not going to work.
Okay, and let's just on then. I just, if that's the consensus of the council, let's just move on. Because it's gonna, I don't know, this is a unwieldy type of situation here.
I agree.
Yes, Bradshaw will weigh in on it. Please, I'd like to hear from the council as well.
Well, I'm just wondering, Crystal, can you not just mute everybody except for the council? Isn't that what you did earlier, and just keep everybody muted, or does that not work?
That's what I'm doing. I'm muting everybody, but the callers are keep like hanging up and calling back in and just yelling right away. And so it takes me a second.
Can't you change the meeting settings that when people call in, they're automatically muted? I think that's what maybe it's too late. I think when I set up meetings before, you can set it up so that when people call in, they're muted automatically. They don't get a chance to say anything. And I was going to say, what you could do is then if people could either send a message or comment if they wanted to be unmuted to make a citizen comment in the appropriate times, rather than just having a free for all.
Correct, but when we provided the 1-800 number, that poses a little bit different because I can't see when they want to comment because they can't chat. They're just calling the 1-800 number, and
Oh,
then
that's right.
and
From their phones. Okay.
Correct. So that's why I couldn't set it up that way because if I muted them coming in right away, I wouldn't know when they wanted to speak.
Yeah, sounds like it's the 800 numbers that are having the issue.
Correct. And so that's the issue. And so if I don't provide the 1-800 number and just provide the link next time, maybe it would
Be more manageable?
Yes, be more manageable.
Yeah. This is
Crystal, I'm sorry.
Mayor, Councilor Bradshaw, this is the same group that we get the emails from. Other cities, when they've tried to do this, they're having these exact same type of issues. And Chief Salvaggio warned that this was probably going to happen tonight, and it has. So I really like Councilor Bradshaw's idea of sending the comments in, and we'll be happy to read them.
No, sir, you motherfucker. No, sir,
Where do they send the comments to?
They can send them either to Sandra's or just same as always. They can send them to spas@leonvalleytexas.gov. They can send them to my email address, or you can go to the website. You can go to the website as well.
Remaining agenda item for the meeting, and then
Yes.
you would read them?
You
Is
can
that
do
what
it.
we would do as an alternative to the 1-800 number?
Mayor, that is
Sand in the fucking crocodile.
Mayor, that is definitely an option.
Fuck you, bitch. No, sir, you motherfucker. No, sir, fuck your mama, hoe. Fuck your mama and her ass.
These are the.
But you can talk to the phone, motherfucker. What's up with you, motherfucker? About y'all. Fuck your mama
Sand in
too,
the
hoe.
fucking crocodile, niggers.
Fuck y'all, motherfucker.
Is-
Only the fuck y'all niggas. Get off the phone, bitch.
Mute
Yeah, just tell
on.
your man get his ass off the phone. Know what I'm saying? Fuck you.
Hey, we got it from here, thank you.
Fuck your mama and your daddy. Fuck your sister in the ass. If I was there, I'd come fuck my ass, motherfucker. Nobody give a fuck about you. Fuck you. Why don't you get your bitch ass on the motherfucking page? Cause man, them things, man. Oh, man, let me tell you something. Fuck you and your mother. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, bitch. I don't give a fuck about you. Fuck all y'all. How about that, motherfucker? Stick a dick in your ass and blow it up, motherfucking hoe.
My mic keeps going off, and I think we might need to just stop this meeting. I don't know. This is getting out of hand. How do we?
What?
Mayor, I have a
Just turn yourself off.
In a Tesla. That's with some cat.
722-6598. Leave us a message.
Want son, my dick small, you act like you ain't noticed.
Peanut butter on my pussy for my dog to lick it.
That dick in me, bro, that shit got me moaning. Yes, I'm gay, and my sister with that whole shit, I'm twerking. Dick up in my butt, that shit be hurting. Nigga fuck me, then he close the curtains. Dick up in my kidney, got me tweaking. And I be fucking niggas like all weekend. Yeah, bro, yo.
For the record, just want to tell you what was going to happen.
Did I get it on there that you said this was going to happen? Thank you. You're welcome.
This is, so are we still live here?
Oh, yeah.
We need the policy.
Just a second, y'all. I hope they didn't see me dancing. That was interesting.